Hey students, it's Mr. Sargent here with your day 134 recap video for ELA and for science. In ELA today, we end our week using character voices and practicing our scape chart. And today you get to do your own scape chart all by yourself. And I know you're going to do an incredible job. After that, we're going to be learning a little bit about shades of meaning. And if you don't know what that is, stick around because it's a very important lesson. In science today, we're going to be learning about things that are biodegradable. And we're going to be doing a lab in which we take paper and make paper. And if that sounds confusing, then definitely stick around towards the end of the video to see what we do for the lab. So ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get started. So this week, ladies and gentlemen, we have focused a lot on creating our character voices. We focused on, understanding the scale of Elmo to Darth Vader, and you have done such a phenomenal job. Now, for today's story, you definitely need to use these voices. Now, in today's story, we have two characters. One's a cat, one's a dog. So when you read the story, creating the voices are going to be kind of important. So let's go ahead and read together. So the story we're going to read today is Whisker's Wish. And if you look at the picture right here, you see there's a cat and there's a dog. So when you create your voice, you're going to probably think about your best cat voice and your best dog voice. I'm going to try my best today, ladies and gentlemen. Whisker's Wish by Guy Belloranti. Whiskers the cat leaped out of the tree, almost landing on Molly the collie's long nose. "Careful!" Molly cried. "Is that all you have to say?" Whiskers asked. "Didn't I scare you?" "Scare me? Of course not." "I wish I was bigger and tougher," Whiskers grumbled. "Then I would have scared you." "You mean big like a collie?" Molly asked. Whiskers giggled. "No, I could never be as big as a dog like you. That would be too embarrassing." "Humph," said Molly. "Maybe you could be a Saint Bernard." No, I couldn't be any dog." "What about a rhinoceros? They're not dogs, but they are big and tough." Whiskers curled his nose. "They're also stinky." Molly nodded. "You're right. I wouldn't like living with you if you were stinky. How about being a giraffe?" Whiskers hunched his shoulders. "No, again. Then my neck would be so long I'd hit my head on things." "Yeah, that wouldn't be much fun. I know. A shark. They're really tough." Whiskers shook his head. "They live in water. I can't stand water." "An eagle?" Molly suggested. "No, all that flying would make me dizzy." "A polar bear?" Whiskers shivered. "Brr, they like cold. I like to be warm." Molly thought hard. "Of course," she cried. "How could we have missed it? A lion! They aren't too stinky. Their necks aren't long. They don't like water. They don't fly. And they love the sun. And they're cats. Big, tough cats." Whiskers clapped his paws. "Molly, you're pretty smart for a dog." "Thank you," Molly said. Then she frowned. "Of course, being a lion will mean big changes." "Changes?" Whiskers asked. "Yes, you won't be allowed in the house anymore. You won't get to sit on the couch and be petted. You won't get tuna or warm milk." "I won't?" "Nope," Molly said. "And worst of all, you have to live far away, not in the city." Whisker scratched his chin. "I don't wish to be a lion, after all. But I do know what I want to be." "Great," said Molly. "What is it?" "Me," said Whiskers. "I like being me, just as I am. If I keep living here, we can still be friends." Now, I don't know about you, but doing those character voices kind of hurt my throat a little bit, so if you need to take your time when doing these character voices, please do, ladies and gentlemen. Now, do your character voices have to sound like mine? Absolutely not. One of the great things about reading, ladies and gentlemen, is you can create your own voices. So practice reading this weekend, and also one little activity you need to do is the scape chart. Ladies and gentlemen, the scape chart, you are going to be on your own. Now remember, scape means setting, characters, action, problem, and ending. All right? Good luck, ladies and gentlemen, and I cannot wait to see your answers. Now, after we did the story and the scape chart, we learned about shades of meaning. Now, when we're talking about shades of meaning, well, think about all the different shades of blue that are out there. We have sky blue, we have navy blue, we have regular blue. I think it's regular blue is the thing. There are so many different shades of my favorite color, blue. Now, words have shades of meaning too. Some words are stronger than others, just like some shades of blue are stronger than others. Think of the word happy. I know you guys and ladies are all happy that it's Friday, but think of the word happy. Okay, it's right there. What's another way you could say happy that means, you're more happy? Well, how about ecstatic? How about delighted? How about elated? Now, you may not know what some of these words mean, but they all mean the same thing. They mean, well, happy. And in the same respect, what if we said sad? It's one thing to just say sad, but what if you said, I'm miserable? It's a little bit stronger of a meaning, isn't it? So, ladies and gentlemen, I gave you an activity right here in which you are able to determine which ones of the words are stronger. Now, when we're talking about the stronger words, we're taking a look at the sentence, and we're going to make sure that it fits there too. So in the first one, it says the flowers were blank in the garden. We could say beautiful or pretty. Which one's stronger? Well, if you said beautiful, you just got the right answer. So ladies and gentlemen, go through the rest of this list and do your best. Find those strong meaning words, and I cannot wait to see what you do. Now in science today, well, I kind of want to do a lab, so there we go. You can't do science without the trusty old lab coat. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this week we have been learning about reducing, reusing, and recycling. Now today we're going to be talking and doing a lab on reusing. Now, when you reuse something, you could use it again. Now, one of the things we talked about yesterday was recycling paper. Now, when we recycle paper, well, we put it in the recycling bin and then we say, bye, see you. But I want to actually figure out and do a lab in which we can create something else using this recycled paper. So what we're going to do today, ladies and gentlemen, is learn how to make paper out of paper. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But it is kind of complicated, so make sure you're following the directions if you are doing this lab with me. Being a teacher is one of the best jobs in the world, but sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, it can get kind of messy. We have paper everywhere, and instead of just throwing it out, I was thinking of a different way that we could use all the scraps of paper that we just have lying around, because at the end of the week, the mess piles up. And it seems a shame just to throw it away. Now, we've been learning about things that are biodegradable, which means they can break down and, well, they can also be recycled and used into something different. So the purpose of today's experiment is to use all of this paper to, well, make something new. What could we make? Well, how about more paper? All right, so the goal and purpose of today's experiment is to make more paper. Now, my question is, how on earth am I going to do it? Well, I got some ideas. In our experiment today, we are going to learn how paper breaks down, things that we can do to sort of speed up the process, and the patience that we're going to need to, well, make some more paper. So we've gone through the purpose, we've gone through the question, we've gone through the materials, and we've gone through the hypothesis. Do you know what's next? Ladies and gentlemen, it's the experiment. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is, well, start shredding some paper. And we're just going to go ahead and just rip paper, and I'll probably speed this part up. All right, so I have all of my paper shredded into smaller pieces. Now you can use scissors for that, yeah, but sometimes it's fun just to rip paper. Now the next thing that I'm gonna do is I am going to soak the paper in water. Now if you notice, the minute you put the water in, it starts to get smaller, doesn't it? Well, why is that? Well, what's happening is when the paper is dry, it takes up a lot of space. It bends certain ways and it sort of fluffs up a little bit. When you put water in it, it tends to, well, close together and even shrink. And if you even mix it a little bit, you will see, oh, it's like one big spitball, isn't it? Oh. So the best thing to do here is to sort of let it sit for a little bit. Let the water soak in and let it saturate, because what's going to happen is, since paper is what we call biodegradable, it is going to begin to break down, even with something as simple as water. Now, for best results, you want to leave it in the water maybe overnight or maybe even 2 days, just to let it soak up and break down a little bit. But do we have overnight? Do we have more than 1 day? No. So what we're going to do, what I'm going to do, is introduce an extra step to this for me and anybody else with parent supervision. What I'm going to do is now put my saturated paper here into another container, because you don't need to do this, but I really just want to show you what it looks like when I do this. So I'm going to put that in right there, and I'm going to add a little bit of the water in there. Oh yeah, look at that. All right. And you can see it already. You remember that big pile of paper? Now look at it. It has sort of shrunk, hasn't it? All right. So that next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blender and go ahead and blend it. And I'm going to blend it. Now already you see it's taken what color? Yeah, it's like a purplish gray, isn't it? And the reason for this is, well, some paper have what we call dye in it. Now, dye is sort of like ink, or you saw some construction paper in there that were different colors, didn't you? Well, when you mix them in with water, they're going to change the color of water, sort of like Kool-Aid, or as one of your favorite drinks that you may have, that you start off with water and you mix it up. So if you look, it's already turning into a sludge, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is, well, I'm going to take a little bit longer to blend it. So if you take a closer look, and I'm going to put some on this table, you will see it turns into sort of a purpley paste sort of thing, doesn't it? Well, what this is, we've now turned all of that paper into, well, smaller broken down pieces. Now, when recycling companies and paper companies use recycled paper, this is sort of the same process that they use. What they're able to do is they're able to tear down the paper and, well, turn it into sort of this paste. But what do we do with the paste after we're done? Well, that's the next step of our experiment. So for the next step, what I'm going to do is, well, really what we need to do is kind of get the water out. So I'm going to squeeze as much as I can out. And then I have this little frame here that I'm gonna use. I'm gonna start placing the paper down on the frame. Now, paper's pretty thin, isn't it? So we want to make sure that it's thin and pressed down. So I'm gonna go ahead and sort of speed this up a little bit. And now, you can already see it taking form. But is it paper yet? No. Because, ladies and gentlemen, what we have to do next is probably one of the most important parts, and it takes a lot of patience. You got to let it dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this out during the day, and hopefully by the end of the day, this is going to dry and we'll have some paper. Now that is it, ladies and gentlemen, for day number 134. I hope you all have a great weekend. Remember, work on your science fair project. If you need any help, reach out to me and I'm more than willing to help out. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot wait to see you next week. And until then, have a good one.